Hey, welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk. I'm your host, Jeff Hootselle. I'm the Chief Cloud Officer with AuditMax. As you guys know, Tech Talk is an interview show. We talk to really some of the best and brightest in the world of IT. It's been a pleasure. This is actually a pretty special episode today. This is actually our 100th episode of the show, so it's been a fun journey over the last year or two, interviewing a lot of great people from all different walks of life and different parts of the country. Today, we've got a fantastic guest who is a friend as well. We've got Mike Muncy. Mike is the CIO with Aveanna Healthcare up in Atlanta. If you guys aren't familiar with Aveanna, they are the
Yes.
nation's leading provider of pediatric home healthcare. So, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, buddy. Well, so hey, yesterday we had an event that I took part in, had the good fortune to be a part of, was the Orbee Georgia CIO of the Year Awards. You're nominated as a
Yep.
finalist for that. So, congratulations there. That's a great honor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really is, and it's a great organization. And the Inspire CIO brand is in multiple cities around the country, and I would advise anybody who is at that CIO level to definitely participate.
yeah. So I know this is your second year in that program, and you're starting to get some recognition for it. But I know you're very humble. You would obviously give a lot of that credit to your team. And we've known each other for a few years now, and I've gotten to know a lot of your teammates. And one of the things that always strikes me when we interact with the folks on your IT staff is everyone's really connected to that mission in the company. I mean, you've got talented
Yeah.
people, and they're very smart, but they also seem very connected to that mission. Talk about from your role as a CIO and what that means, and how you've really accomplished that.
So I would say it this way, Jeff. You know, we start at the board level, at the senior executive team level, and we spend a lot of time on our mission, our core values, and what we call our 5 C's, which is what we do. Core values are who you are. Then there's what you do, and those are two separate things. And we talk about that mission, and we talk about those 5 C's, and we talk about our core values in our regular town halls in IT. One of the first things I started when I took over as CIO was a monthly town hall. And sometimes we have it monthly or bi-monthly, but I have a meeting with my staff to really bring them up to date on our initiatives, our objectives as an IT team. And one of the things we almost always revisit on those town halls is what our mission, our core values, and our 5 C's are every time. During COVID, of course, we've had to change that a little bit. We have the town hall, but we also have a little 30-minute weekly get together and keep the IT team. Every Friday at 2 o'clock, I'm hosting a what I call a business and cocktails session for 30 minutes. And basically, it's more of a social gathering, but we also talk about how the business is doing, and that seems to keep everybody on the same page with what the business and IT are doing in concert with each other. The other thing that we do too that I have found to be very impactful is that we put out a status report of all IT projects every week and where we're at this week, what we're doing next week. And we send that out not only to our business partners, but we also send that out on Mondays to all of our IT teams. So everyone in the organization is well informed about every project and who's working on what, from an individual contributor all the way up to our COO and chairman and CEO of the company.
Yeah, and you guys have made some big strides. I mean, it's an organization that's grown very rapidly with a lot of M&A
Yes.
activity, which creates its own challenges. You're also in an industry where it historically has not been the most technology driven, and that's obviously changing quite a bit. I mean, talk about a little bit of that when you came into the organization and kind of where you guys were at the state of technology, and kind of some of the things you've
Sure.
done now that have made a big impact on the way you guys perform and how you help your patients.
Yeah. So when I came into the organization, it was a struggle. Home health is a low tech industry traditionally, and when I came into the organization, coming from previous M&A companies, Aveanna Healthcare at that time, PSA Healthcare, had not done an acquisition in over 8 years. So a lot of their budget and a lot of their technology was basically in such a way where it was, we were just going to maintain what we have, and we're not going to spend a lot on future tech. We're just going to maintain what we have. And I would tell you that a lot of home health companies kind of exist in that state. And so through the process of M&A, we started acquiring companies at PSA. We got about 4 companies deep, and we got everybody kind of working on that. And what you find out real quickly is, especially when you do M&A, is that maintaining a broken architecture isn't going to work for you. And then we did the merger with Epic Home Health, and that really was the transformative acquisition that we did and that was really a merger. But that gave us the firepower to go transform our IT organization and for the whole company. And so, if you want to be an M&A organization, part of the value of being an M&A organization is being able to acquire companies and assimilate them quickly into your technology stack. And at the time, that was just almost impossible. So we had to basically decide to greenfield our technology space. And I would tell you, Jeff, and you know a lot of this story, we had to go back and look at every foundational technology in the company. We had to transform that technology. So where we were an M&A company, and Epic Home Health had about 12 companies that had 12 different architectures, and PSA, of course, had about 4 different architectures. And so we had about 18 or so, 20 companies of technology stacks that we had to assimilate into one. And that really gave us the opportunity to greenfield everything from your phone system, your fax system, laptops, O365, all the way through your technology stack. And over the course of the last 4 years, that's what we've done. We actually are wrapping up what we call our target operating model. And that target operating model is basically, that definition of what is every site, what is every corporate unit of Aveanna going to look like. And that's such an important thing to have in your tool belt, because once you set a course on how to transform your organization through those technology decisions, then what you can do is you really have a great foundation in which to build innovation on top of. And that's really where you start getting able to move faster and quicker on behalf of your patients and your locations. All we do at corporate, we don't create a single dollar of revenue at corporate. Our field locations are the ones that are doing all the work. And so getting them standardized so we can provide support better, so we can move quicker. As you can imagine, if you have 25 different phone systems in your company, troubleshooting somebody's phone system is problematic. And so you really have to be tenacious and push to get down to one universal phone system. That way, when you call that location, not only does your support team understand how to take care of their phones, but the locations, their standardized training, their standardized education, and just tribal knowledge develops about all your technologies. And if you have all these disparate technologies, you just can't do that. It makes it harder to serve your locations and your patients. And so getting to that target operating model is such an important thing.
Yeah, well, I guess, and the fun fact about that is you're doing all those things in M&A, you're doing the growth, you're taking on patient care. At the same time, now you have COVID enters the mix, and you've got a whole new threat with the pandemic and new things to consider and kind of throw a wrinkle at it. And you guys haven't sat back. I mean, to your credit, a lot of companies we've talked to, they really kind of hunkered down when all this stuff started. You had a little bit different approach. Talk a little bit about that and kind of how you guys have approached things since the pandemic's begun.
Well, in general at Aveanna, our executive team, myself included, and everybody on the team, we've created a culture over the last few years whereas most companies are going to take a step back, we're usually going to attack. And so when we realized COVID was happening, we went on the attack, and we had a few projects left that would really prevent people from being able to work remotely. So the first thing we did was we stopped all work outside of preparing for everyone to do remote work. And we in about 3 to 4 weeks, we probably did 6 months of work, because everybody in the company was very susceptible to receiving new technology, whether it was finishing the laptop deployment, getting everybody O365, making sure everybody had eFax, whatever it was that they needed to be able to work remotely. That was our entire concentration for about a month straight. And we got there just in time, to be honest with you. And a lot of our companies have been able to work remote. Our locations still have to be in there, but that's just the nature of doing the kind of business that we do. The second thing we did was we recognized that coming out of, everybody went into lockdown, and a lot of the families were very scared to have nurses in the home if they could prevent it. And so we used a couple of combinations of things. We implemented teletherapy very quickly, and teletherapy allowed us to really extend our ability to see some of our patients, especially in our therapy division, without actually being on site. And that doesn't work all the time, but it did bring back our therapy business very fast. And that allowed us, using a little, innovative approach there, we were able to deliver on that. But that also required that the states that we serve allowed us to provide our services via teletherapy. So they laxed their regulations temporarily during COVID, and we were able to provide that service. And we've been able to bill for that service and collect on that. And that's such an important part of what we do. So, we were able to use teletherapy to bring back the business that we kind of saw fall off. And we also implemented something very old school, which is we took a pledge with our patients' families where our nurses agreed, I'm going to stay in a closed loop, you're going to stay in a closed loop, and we're going to take a pledge to each other that we're not going to put each other's lives in danger. And that also, that pledge process brought back some of our business, a very low tech solution, but for us, that really worked. And then, of course, everybody adopting Teams and Ring Central and all of these other type of technologies have really enabled everybody to work remotely and stay in constant contact with each other. So many people are reporting higher productivity as well as better communications with their team. So, an unexpected benefit of COVID, of course, is the use of technology to communicate.
Yeah. Well, it's such an important thing, service you guys are providing. I mean, as a father that had a child that spent some time in a NICU, I mean, to have the services available to be at home and not be in a hospital facility, and be able to see your children and do it in a safe manner is such an important thing. Um, Mike, let's for our last question here, I got just one more. Take a step back and kind of get your perspective. If you were going to talk to, yourself 10 years in the past, or maybe another kind of smart, aggressive person coming up in their career in IT that has their eyes set on, maybe getting a role as a CIO, what advice would you give in somebody in that position?
So, here's what I tell my guys. All of us in technology have to do 100% of our technology duties. So if half of your role is being technical, you need to be able to do 100% of that. The issue you get into 10 years ago, if I were to dial myself back, is really how to communicate well to your partners, how to build good relationships with them, how to build cohesion with them, how to communicate both formally and informally. All of those skills are the ones I think in the tech career that we overlook horribly. And I know I probably sound like a broken record compared to a lot of people, but you really have to be able to communicate. The days of being able to sit in the basement and write code are kind of over for most people in tech. You've got the push into low code and no code systems. And now, if you're going to go work for a tech firm, that may be different, right? You're going to choose a career path that's going to let you be an engineer, and you're going to work on a team, but you're still going to have the need to communicate to your teammates. IT is a team sport, and whether or not you're communicating just inside of your team or to the business owner of the problem you're trying to solve, or like in my role, I'm communicating with the board and with the senior executive team, and then of course the stakeholders downstream. Communications is such a key thing, and I think there needs to be more emphasis on that earlier in your career in IT.
That's great. Well, Mike, hey, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I can't think of anybody better to do show number 100. Can't believe it took us 100 shows to get you on here, but we're glad you took some time out today and sat down with us. And thanks for all the insights.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
There you go. Thank you guys for tuning in as well. If you want to watch other episodes like this, you can always go to auditmax.com. We have a library of all these 100 episodes you can check out and enjoy. Thanks so much.